organized lessons creatively and effectively to enhance students' engagement. Anyone who has taught in the system for more than 25 years and more, rather, have been part and parcel of the changes. Incremental, yes, in some cases, imperceptible or significant, and in some cases sustained, as we saw in the figures above. In addition, some of you have worked with Rose and the NPC. You've worked with 11 Plus to GSAT, and now you're going to do PEP. And you have courageously stood to calls for the school improvement plans to be done. And you've had the NEI, the JTC, the NPC, and the NCL. You could almost sing one song about them. The improvements listed above did not drop out of the skies. They've all been dependent on the responses and efforts of teachers across the length and breadth of our country, in urban and rural settings, in conditions that are sometimes inimical to teaching and learning. Teachers, you've been ingenious, clever, inventive, resourceful, creative. And the history of our education and in allied fields will testify to your considerable and incomparable contributions. Look here. Sometimes when I travel and I go and see where people have it easy, you go to Cayman children in a court, in a classroom, because they have AC. You go to England and they have books and resources still, they turn food, carpet and everything. Yes, you have grumbled, and the association has challenged the policymakers on several policy directives and direction, not least the JTC bill. I remember the men in black who marched on Heroes Circle, Doran and Clayton and Mark and all them people there. Come out, them come put you under manners. In some places, your performance still lacks luster. And at times, you may not have clearly understood what is expected of you in regard to curriculum implementation. But I have not witnessed any large scale, some is a radical at heart. And when I say no, we're going to take it to heart. But take it to heart. I have not witnessed any wide-scale protest or withdrawal of service in regard to the changes above, like the Rose and this and the PEP and the then something there. Even when you've had to work under adverse and difficult circumstances. I remember going to a classroom in Kingston, and it was one of these rooms with 4 or 5 classes in the big hall. And brothers and sisters, the teacher teach. When she done, me call her outside and me say, "Ma'am, you're going to teach out your gut hole." And the children, them not going to learn anything. Not because you did not try. Not because she didn't have her lesson plan. Not because she didn't know what she was doing. But the conditions were not conducive to learning. You still have parents who have not understood, nor have they taken seriously their role as first teachers of their children in regard to values and attitudes and self-discipline. So many classrooms remain places of challenge and confrontation, and the value of learning is secondary to the value of indiscipline displayed by some children. And an no fault, not all the time. So what are some of the challenges facing our country that we might be asked to bring some hope to? Economic growth at 1.7%. while we're recording some movement, is still anemic. We struggle with high public debt. I know death or debt, but it could be death. The crime rate is still too high. As an island, we're very vulnerable to natural disasters, and we have that in the back of our minds all the time. Flood and hurricane and storm and earthquake. Wealth is unevenly distributed. We see extreme poverty and extreme wealth. Poverty, the perception that, now I'm saying it, and that's why I believe that we should have clear policies and procedures for things like appointment. I was talking to one of my past students this morning, and she's in the classroom from Wapikil Philo. Well, almost. And she's saying, well, it's the way things go. Me say, no, that is not the way things must go. If you have ability and you have the credentials, we should have the openings transparently displayed so anybody can apply. Chairman. Anyway, so education system matters now. We still have a problem with our boys. 20% of our boys at the upper, we can't find, let me restate that. We cannot find approximately 20% of our boys when we look at the upper secondary school population. We have about between 38 and 40,000 children in each cohort. Approximately half of them are boys. None of picnic that? Yeah. Oh, okay. In the teaching profession now, there are some negative residual and current opinions and feelings voiced about teachers. Them no care. Them not teach them nothing. I buy and sell, them I buy and sell. And them live for extra money, extra lesson money. These are messages that have been sent, we have sent about ourselves, and we need to correct them. My students used to report to me, and up to last week I was in conversation, that was when it was a principal. The following was said, teachers say to new teachers, where you kill up yourself for? I sure you come here if you can't show we up. That can't be right. When people come into the classroom with energy and verve and vigor, you must welcome them and say, make me catch little of the verve and vigor. Not true? Mighty, mighty. Now, what we believe, and I know Carol Gentles, Dr. Carol Hordat Gentles, in a speech 2 years ago, spoke about what teachers believed about themselves. She said their decisions about instruction are driven primarily by their knowledge of and concern for individual students' needs and the desire to help them overcome things like poverty and poor nutrition and those sorts of things. Their talk about teaching and learning lacked accounts of engaging in meaningful professional dialogue or inquiry. Their teaching and learning intentions were focused predominantly on developing dispositional qualities. That's all good, but me have a little something for you. Question then. What messages can the teaching profession take from the list of issues generated about economic growth, crime and violence, values, performance at various levels, and perception of the teaching profession? How might teachers respond? How can you be seen as inspiring hope in the country and in the children you teach? What are the issues that you might want teachers, you yourself, to take control of or have a greater say in them? I start with beliefs. What we believe about ourselves forms the basis of the hope and inspiration that we bring to the table. I don't know if it's because of church or because of my mother, but me always walk upright. Even if my head bow, my heart upright. Teachers, you have to start to walk upright. Amen. Like you and I have the answer to some of the issues. My own beliefs have changed and developed over time through training, experience, new information, and discourse. As I reflected on this speech, I thought I would share some of the beliefs I've had about me as a teacher. I believed that I had a moral purpose to teach. It come from down your gut hole. Am I being, is the, then there? It comes from your belly bottom. That sounds better, not true? It comes from your heart. Little boy, I was in a class one time and I tell the children to find their heart. They were lying on the floor, boys' school. And when I looked to the corner, I said, little boy, have your hand here, sir. I said, that is not your heart. Here, sir. Little boy, have your hand here, sir. I said, no, that is not your heart. Here, find your heart, man. Find your heart. Yeah, man. I believe that what we believe can change the trajectory of every child that comes in front of us. Their life experiences can be changed. Look here, man. I believe that I've taught and were I to continue teaching. My philosophy, I have a philosophy about teaching. And it comes out of, and nobody stone me now, a Christian socialism framework. And then I said, that's all right. I believed, and I still do, that teachers should empower and liberate the learner and not domesticate him or her. Teaching should create suspicion in the learner, who should be led to ask, what is the teacher not telling me? Who said that? Teaching should disrupt the narrative of the status quo. Teaching that helps to challenge the power relations, whether it's about gender, social class, political ideology, or age. Some people say, you must respect me because me whole. Why? What have I done? Apart from aging gracefully, I hope. What have I done? Why should you respect me? I also hold that this sort of teaching comes from the heart of a scholar who learns and unlearns, who constructs and deconstructs knowledge. This sort of teaching is grounded in risk-taking and from thinking outside of the box. And when they think they have contained you in the box, you develop your own box and then you think outside of it. I've always held the view that teachers should have a clear and consistent philosophy of teaching and learning. It should set out why we do what we do. I go further to say that the entire education system needs, as a matter of urgency, such a philosophy. We've had vision and mission and motto. These tell us where we're going. That's a vision. What we're going to do to get there. That's the mission. But why? Why are we going in that direction? Is the philosophy. This is what is going to guide the why. You hear about the man who was looking up in the sky like this. And everybody come and start to look up. So somebody said, where am I look pan? The man said, I have a quick neck. I can't only hold up. Why is he looking up? There's a problem. But at least he knew why he was looking up. Nobody else around him knew why. And that's why we need a philosophical statement. So I agree with Robert Gregory, who in September 2015 said, Jamaica needs a national dialogue towards a shared understanding of the required philosophy and purpose of education in Jamaica today, taking into account what is happening in the world in the 21st century, and so on and so forth. To be quite honest, whichever administration has been in power, the administrations of the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party in the 60s and in the 70s going into the 80s actually had statements of intent and why they were doing what they were doing under the New Deal and under the plan for education. And bold Michael, go take him out, say, this government's philosophy envisages the creation of an egalitarian society based on the twin pillars of social justice and equality of opportunity. At least he said it. He said it. Not true. We need somebody to at least say it in this country at this time. So what am I proposing? You as teachers must have your philosophy. Work with your little group, collaborate, have discourse. Why are we doing this? We can't just galang, so ask, why are we doing this? What is driving me to do this? The whole school, principals know. Once you start to ask, is a revolution, may I start, Why, once you start to ask why, and you start to ask why of the principal and the leadership, and you start to ask why of the education system, people start to feel uncomfortable. I propose a bottom-up approach. So we just philosophy. What you think? What you teach? Why you teach? Secondly, what we believe about ourselves and about our teaching and student learning matters. The teacher must have the heart and spirit, listen carefully, of the social worker, the truancy officer, and the welfare officer, and must care about her students. But the crux of her matter is about being a teacher and a great teacher. She must be given to developing the quality of her teaching from just satisfactory to great. Great teaching inspires teachers first. When you teach a good lesson, say, you plan it, man. And the children say, it's a great teaching, man. That's a great teaching. That builds your self-confidence and in turn inspires other people, your colleague and the students in your classroom. So she must know how to teach. Pedagogy. Know your content, man. Everybody tell you that already, not true? Having subject area content knowledge is important, but knowing how it is constructed, having an idea of where it operates in a linear fashion, where your content knowledge is layered, cyclical, complex, relational, that's the depth of what you need. Understanding that knowledge must be seen as provisional and vulnerable. Because what happened? Nowadays, knowledge has changed quick and fast. And you have to know what to look for. What are the principles that you can hold on to? And knowledge is being reconstructed as we speak by some of the children that you teach. You must understand the difference between knowing and learning. All right. I came across a word the other day because I was asking not the other day, a few years ago. I was asking about some children young women who were mothers and they were attending school. So I said, then how you teach them, the children? Because when you teach them, they know already. Or they don't want to know. They need to know something else. And Dr. Clover Hamilton Flowers said, P.S., there's a word for that. She said, it's called heutagogy. Me say what? She said, heutagogy. She said, it's interest-based learning. And whether we like it or not, many children and young people are learning what they are interested in, and they've always done it. I have done it in the past, and you have done it too. You're interested, you know what? Yes, you want to teach frock making, but you're interested in designing flowers, floral arrangement. So you go out and you do that. Not true? That's right. So it's the same thing with children. Bless the Lord. Teachers need to find ways of using a good mix of authentic and traditional assessment strategies. I read something from Common Characteristics of Inspiring Teachers. Page 17 said, inspiring teaching fires the imagination through a combination of intellectual challenge, high expectation, and mutual trust between teacher and learner that invites the learner to join the teacher on a journey of discovery. When you go in a classroom, you can't just turn up stiff so. Yeah. It must walk. It must run sometimes. It must skip. Teachers must model inquisitiveness and ask deep and probing questions and inject enthusiasm and joy in the work that they do. Now then, while you're doing this, it is very important to develop this scholarship. Not true? You must know why you do it. It means that teacher education must change, Byron. It must change. Me tell the principal them already. I asked them, some of them the other day, what is your philosophy? Where you going with teacher training? Me did try a few things. I tried mastery learning, for example. Yes? I tried research-based learning because I saw at that Shortwood. Anybody that here from Shortwood and can verify the claim? You did not go to Shortwood, so you cannot verify the claim. But I tried while I was there to encourage mastery teaching and mastery learning. Right? So you teach your students to master, so you not give them right and wrong at this one go. You said, go and try it again until you get it right. Did I try that? Thank you very much. The leadership of schools must reposition their schools as true learning centers. Excellent leaders engage their teachers in creating learning as the culture of the school. And excellent school leaders discourage teachers from being monochrome and plain and encourages them to be textured and interested in a variety of topics and issues. And you stop the chatbot and move to discourse. At the level of the education system, and I need to say this because I truly believe in this and I have not been able to do it here in Jamaica. The provision of curriculum frameworks and syllabi should be devised, giving groups of locally based teachers the challenge and resources to plan the curriculum, work plans, and lesson plans to suit their individual cluster of schools or schools. I say this because I saw the debacle of Rose. Some teachers did not understand where them I say. Right? And I have been doing the rounds with PEP and talking to people about PEP. And some teachers, no, I say, that. Still I say, that. They don't understand. And that is because they weren't at the table. And you are mentally enslaved to a system that says this is how it must go all the time. I've often said, if it does not have to go like that all the time, but you have to go through the right procedures to change what needs to be changed. Learning strategies could be project-based, using technologies and local resources. Assessment could be less about high-stake assessment and you assess children, visit where them learn and then use it again. The mass camp, I've always said this mass camp professional development something, no work. It does not work. It is expensive, but it doesn't work. Say it again, mass camp. Where you bring everybody together, I want 300, 400 teachers in our hot room with chair and desk for children. I know. I really think, could we not give the money to a cluster of schools and say, all right, work it through, man. Miss Denham Town, it could work. Yes? If teachers are now expected to prepare students, let me check my time, to become lifelong learners, the Teaching and Learning International Survey tells us that they themselves need to learn and develop throughout their careers. Teachers not only need to be able to use the latest tools and technologies with their students, but they also need to take advantage of the latest research on learning, pedagogies, and practice. And the group work can help. Make her run fast and furiously. I'm asking permission for 5 more minutes, sir. Conference, you're me decent? Thank you very much. Now then, I want you teachers not to feel immobilized by fears when you go to the classroom. I want you to feel so you can have the highest expectations of your students. Right? If you don't know nothing, you can always find out. Yeah. You have to believe that students can learn. They can be scholars, and I don't mean the motto. You have to believe it in your heart, which means you hold high expectations. You know what makes an A, and you tell the children what you expect. You work with them in respectful and trusting relationships. You correct misconceptions with rigor and fun. Like the little girl, when I went into a classroom, I said, they're doing maths, acute angles. And I said, what is an acute angle? The little girl said, Miss, it's like when you said the boy have a cute little face. Miss said, no, I'm sorry, go. But the teacher was teaching. And huge misconception. Or when my little niece come home and say, Auntie, when ladies are having babies, they carry them in their vagina. I said, what did you say? She said, in their vagina. I said, no, they don't carry them in their vagina. Misconception. Biological misconception. But you won't know that there are misconceptions until you talk to the children. You must have expert knowledge of what children find difficult and what they know and how to take them to the next level by deepening their understanding. 2 final words. There is a call for values, attitudes, and morals. The call for schools to teach values and attitudes and civics has been ongoing for several years. While there is virtue in this call, we need to recognize that in some instances, the following questions need to be answered, and I quote, if teachers are being set up as the panacea for problems that have been hitherto intractable, what are the implications when students fail to learn? Teachers cannot be left as the sole purveyors of values and attitudes. Values are taught and they are caught from parents, church leaders, government, private sector leaders, anybody and everybody. However, all teachers must operate from a clearly defined set of values. This should be seen in how the profession individually in the profession and collectively how we carry ourselves. There must be greater awareness of how principles and values speak to issues of integrity, equity, social justice. How you select the resources that you're going to use in your classroom. How you mark the papers. Give everybody A and then they'll deserve it. Or fail them because you never mark the paper. But I also want to point out that as a matter of principle, you as teachers, if you're going to bring hope to all the children that you teach, must look carefully at the values embedded in the curriculum and in the assessment items. I had the good fortune to look at some of the items a few weeks ago. And I had to call this lady, CEO, and I said, please to take a look at this. I found that there were instances of clear social and cultural experiences and values implied from which many of our children would be excluded. So there was one item that said, you're going to, no, not that one. The one about the going to the hotel. How many children are going to go to a hotel? A resort. You know the one, a resort. There was another one about the supermarket and the big fridge, the big freezer them. Some of our children, Baron, only go to the corner shop. They never seen a big freezer. They've never seen a deep freeze. So once you put that item in the picnic, they must sit down there and consider what the deep freeze look like now. Me say, look here. Ask them to measure how much mesh they will need for the shop front. All right, enough said. If you're going to bring hope to this nation, you have to take some professional, technical skills, attitudes, and behaviors to the forefront of your teaching. Lastly, teacher activism. Me gone over 1 minute. Teacher activism. The profession has a rich history of teachers who stood up for justice, equality, and the rights of individuals outside of the profession. Mary Morris Knibb, Amy Bailey, Edith Dalton, Faye Saunders, and people there. Those, and I call women. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm not so biased. They were fearless. And they worked without fear or favor. But they were principled. Where is your fervor? Where are the bold among us? Who will stand up for the oppressed and the alienated and the underdogs? Who will add justice, create liberatory teaching spaces, work against oppression, but care deeply about teaching? So, I join with that gentleman here. When we're here, that's right. Thank you, sir. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery that keeps you bound to traditions that have not always worked on your behalf and on behalf of the children and the nation. Disrupt the narrative. Bring hope, bring life, bring change. Amen.
What a word. Put your hands together and do that one more time. Colleagues, really sometimes it takes these opportunities, these presentations, to call us to retrospection and introspection. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? The call has been made. We have been propelled into social activism. How many of us will come and knock that table when we hear it? But when we are being called to act, we take the media and we say, not me have me Jesus pick me them. And we say, not me in a necessary. Colleagues, we are being called to action. Things cannot remain the same. We need the bottom-up approach. And so when your next president come, don't do like you have done to say she can tande or him can tande. Me I go to school. And then you write to the media and you call Cliff Hughes and say me cry cree. Me never part of it. And then you expect president alone to bear the brunt. Colleagues, this is a call. We need to wake up as a Jamaica Teachers Association. Faith Saunders this morning would have been in her elements listening to a speech like this. I can hear the voice of Juno Gale from the back saying, yes. I can see Dorothy Raymond closing her eyes and saying, this is the JTA. Who are you? Why are we here? For what purpose was this association formed? Colleagues, I take my leave from the chair, but I stand behind our new president because things cannot be the same. The teachers of Jamaica must begin to speak, must begin to support leadership. It can't be that as an association we're taking a stance and you have parish presidents go to school, go gather picnic under a tree, all when school gate locked. It can only get better if we demand better. The former PS says she quick when JTA come. Some people need to start wet them boots when JTA stand up. And we're not fighting. We're not promoting war, but we are standing up and declaring our purpose and taking our rightful position in society. The 2030 vision is dependent on what the teachers of Jamaica will do. This generation, they are depending on teachers to begin to walk the walk and talk the talk. United we stand, divided we fall. Back out of JTA if you're not a warrior and allow some real JTA people to lead the charge. Leave JTA alone and stop criticize and carry news to the wrong quarters, because we must do that which we were found to do. I'm not in church. I'm at conference. But Mrs. Foster Allen, you have stimulated my thought process. You have propelled me into a new space. A space where I feel not bombing a church, no, but bombing somewhere else. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together again for the keynote speaker. This time, I'm going to be inviting Mr. Simmons to make a presentation to Mrs. Foster Allen. And then after, Mrs. Onyx Boyne will come with a vote of thanks.
Mrs. Foster Allen. Oh, sorry. There is open education, and our passion will help us to see it materialize. Have a philosophy, it will guide you. Don't be afraid of changes. Stay informed to help our students. It is with this in mind that we from the JTA express our sincere thanks to you for having shared with us. We have been inspired. And we pray God will bless you, keep on inspiring others. Thank you much. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you. God bless you. Yes, thank you.
Just before Mrs. Bowen comes, colleagues, I don't know whether you might have one or two the most questions for our keynote speaker. Any questions for our keynote speaker? Yes, Mr. Howell.
Royal Council, you made a very good dissertation on a very prominent topic. My experience in the classroom over the many years are those who are successful are those who break some rules. And at times are intimidated without fear or favor. However, we see a trend taking place in education now where in 1993 we moved to decentralization, setting up regional offices. Now, to my mind, the regional officers become RBOs, regional box offices. Nothing happens from the regions, from leave, appointment, even changing signatures to accounts have to go to center. So it creates an inertia. How can we develop a modern education system when all these barriers are in place in the 21st century?
Do we need to take this off? Hello? Okay. So, my good friend, you need to read the signs of the times. And that's why I would recommend that you start with your group of principals who have some concerns, right? And you bring those concerns to the fore. I've always said, if it is working, support it. I remember when I was an education officer, I went down to Charlie Smith. At that time, Paulette Chavans was the principal there. I couldn't find Paulette. because she was in a classroom. She wasn't in her office, she was in a classroom. And they took the stance that once teachers were teaching, nobody interrupted them. So because me an education officer, if I want to see her, I have to sit down and wait, or I go and observe the lesson. Now, the system is not geared to people who break rules. And it is not always a good idea to break rules. You must first go through the democratic process. And it starts with that discourse with your colleagues. You work through the system till when it buck. And if it gets to the point where nobody's taking notice, then you know what comes next. There is action or inaction. I rest my case, sir.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen. Is there another question for Mrs. Allen? Another question? If there be no other question, Rihanna is going to come again with an item, and then Mrs. Boyd. Rihanna. Come on, put your hands together. It seemed to be younger Rihanna this time. Can someone help her with a...
My name is Shantice Edwards. I am in grade 2, soon going to 3. And I'm going to say an item. And the title of the item is If You Were Born a Tissue by Linda North. If you were born tissue, you would be filled with worms and woes. Then toss garbage filled with snot from someone's nose. If you were born a carpet, it would cut you to the quick. When people walk all over you, then beat you with a stick. If you were born a turkey, you'd surely shake and shudder when someone shoved you in the stove, all smeared with oil and butter. If you were born an onion, your troubles would begin the moment someone came along to peel off all your skin. If you were born a kangaroo, you'd surely be a liar to say that you weren't terrified of being lit on fire. If you were born a tea bag, you'd be riled, you'll be roiled. You'd shove inside the floral pot in which you'll soon be boiled. It put things in perspective when you see another's issue. Be glad you came from mom and dad and not a pair of tissue.
Wow, another hand for Shanice, please. Madam President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am sure that you will agree with me that we are off to a great start in this, the first session of the 54th Annual Conference of the Jamaica Teachers Association, as we embrace the theme, promoting the teaching profession, a beacon of hope and inspiration to our nation. On behalf of the Jamaica Teachers Association, I would like to express sincere thanks to to the persons who have made the first session a great one. In his absence, I would like to thank Reverend Juna Rotti, pastor of Agape Christian Fellowship, for invoking God's presence. He challenged us to have an attitude that reflects the life of Christ. To our exceptional, extraordinary President, Mrs. Georgia Wall Richards, for welcoming us, giving our remarks, and for navigating us through the program. To our hardworking Secretary General for doing the standing orders and everything else that he's doing up here. To the young and talented Rihanna and Shanice from the Dundee All Age and Infant School for entertaining us. Thanks also to Mrs. Stephanie Wright Grant for ably introducing our keynote speaker. Then I'm sure you would love for me to say special thanks to our eloquent and inspiring keynote speaker, Mrs. Elaine Foster Allen. Mrs. Allen, your presentation was engaging, lively, and thought-provoking. You kept us on the edge of our seats. I kept wondering, what are you going to say next? You have reminded us to walk upright and that although there are challenges, there are beacons of light. You have also encouraged us to be excellent teachers. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone else for being here. You are a great audience. So at this time, we just need to fasten our seatbelts and prepare for our landing. We're almost there. Thank you.
Having listened to Onyx giving the vote of thanks, I'm reminded of a function I attended, a JTA function, where the move of the vote of thanks said, they don't want me to say it, but the move of the vote of thanks said nobody was going to thank her, so she's going to thank herself for moving the vote of thanks. Onyx, I thank you for so ably moving the vote of thanks. Colleagues, all the hour is late and the time is gone, and so I'll invite Mrs. Charmaine Gooden-Monteith at this time with the announcements.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the platform party. Colleagues, good afternoon. I'm very aware of the time, so I just wanted to just pay keen attention to what I'll be saying now. We will resume at 2 p.m. because we want to we know we're running behind schedule, but we're asking if you could just come back at 2 so we can get back on track. Persons who are staying at Holiday Inn will have breakfast and dinner at that property, and they will have lunch here at the Hilton Hotel. I have some good news for you as well. Persons who are staying here at the Hilton, you may collect your keys at 1 o'clock in the lobby. Also, colleagues, most of you would have collected your reporters already. Please ensure that you look at the times that the different activities have been slotted for. And we are going to end today at 4:30 sharp so that you can get some rest and come down all dressed up to see to witness the investiture ceremony of our incoming president. On Tuesday, we considered you. We are going to end at 2:30 so that you can get time to soak up the hotel, and then you can get some rest and come back for the 8 o'clock ceremony. So enjoy lunch. Who is going to say grace? We'll ask the PS to say a brief grace for us, former PS, and then we will all proceed to lunch. Have a good day, colleagues. Thank you.
going to stand for grace. All good gifts around us are sent from heaven above. So we thank you, Lord, for the gift of food, for friends, and fellowship. Be with us in all our deliberations. In Jesus' name, amen.
Nash, I just need to say something to you.
Close the mic, please.